Okay, this is on section 3.2, part of 3.1 still, and then some of 3.2. I was trying to just break up our notes evenly. So we're going to start talking about drug designation. So the state law and of course institutional policies are going to govern the extent to which the generic products can be substituted for brand name drugs. So a prescription must indicate the medication that is intended for, and the medication can be referred to it by its generic name or the brand name. So just remember the generic name, of course, is the name by which it was going to be approved. It was approved by the FDA as a unique chemical product that is safe and effective for use in its approved indication. Okay, so the brand name is going to be a registered trademark of the manufacturer, and it may indicate the dose form or the packaging of the drug as well. And these are just your definitions of your generic name. Make sure you know those. So the generic name is the name under which a drug was approved by the FDA, sometimes denotes a drug that is not protected by trademark, but also referred to as a United States adopted name. Brand name is the name under which the manufacturer markets a drug. It is a registered trademark of the manufacturer known as a trade name. Okay, so now that we get to the parts, of course, of a drug label. Okay, so and I know most of this is a review for you guys because you had it last year in the pharmacy practice book. But a couple of things we want to kind of go over here is you have your Cleocin phosphate, of course, is going to be your brand name, and then of course the clindamycin injection is the generic name, or clindamycin is the generic name, and the dosage form is injection. But just to let you know, if you notice here that brand names are usually capitalized, with the generic name it is usually lowercase letter. It starts with lowercase. So kind of give you a hint. Um, its strength, of course, is 150 milligrams per milliliter. Okay, the manufacturer is your Pharmacia and Upjohn Company. Special storage and handling requirements are listed here. Okay, so it's going to pretty much be stored at a controlled room temperature at 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. One thing I want you to know here is just a review. This is a review of the NDC number. So your NDC number, each set of numbers is going to stand for something. So if you look here the 0009, the first set of numbers, they're going to indicate the place that distributes the drug. Okay, so the labeler, they call it the labeler code. So it's pretty much the company or the manufacturer that distributes the drug. So you may see several bottles that's made by the same company with that same number. Okay, the second set of numbers, if you look here, this is the product code, what they refer to as the product code. What that means is it's going to be tell you the specific strength of the medication, the dosage form, and the formulation by those numbers. Okay, so strength of the drug, dosage, form, okay, and formulation. The last two numbers, which is the third set, I'll put him up here, the third set of numbers, that is going to identify the package size. ID's package size. So these are very important to know what each set of those numbers mean, because I do know that's one of the questions from the state board actually asks on the test a lot of times. So information about the particular strength, dose, and dosage form is also going to be clearly stated on the drug label as well. This picture is just showing you a comparison of the dosage forms. It shows the same medication or the same drug in different dosage forms or strengths. So if you look at this first one, it's 25 milligrams per 5 milliliters, and it is visceral. It is a liquid. Okay. If you look over here, these are both Vistaril. That is 25 milligrams up here, and it is a capsule. And the one below it is 50 milligrams, and it is a capsule. Okay, so just kind of show you an idea. And when the same company makes the medications, they kind of look alike, so they have the same name, the same label. But if you notice, they've used different colors to kind of, draw you to knowing that that is a different strength of the other one. So it's important to double check those indices numbers when putting medications that are new coming in from the stock onto the shelf, and also when you're grabbing it to fill a prescription. It's really important to look at those NDC numbers and match it up. So how does the design of the medication labels help the pharmacy technician correctly identify the medication? Just like I had just mentioned earlier, they may be useful, of course, with the different labels, may have like different colors to help distinguish the unique information. Why is it important to correctly match a prescription order with the appropriate medication available in the pharmacy? And this is pretty obvious to prevent any type of errors of giving the wrong dosage or strength of the medication. So you always want to check those NDC numbers. It's very, very important. So quantity to dispense, of course, a prescription must indicate the amount of medication, of course, that is to be dispensed. So amounts are often written as Roman numerals and or spelled out to hinder alteration. So this is to keep people from altering the drug prescription and changing the quantity. So your two X's, of course, are going to be 20. It's usually written Roman numerals. Sometimes they'll just write it out 20, the word 20. So sometimes, of course, the amount to dispense has to be calculated from the duration of therapy. Of course, the pharmacy technician, of course, will need to calculate, like your quantity to be dispensed sometimes, or because sometimes a doctor will write it out and give you a prescription for, say, 5 days, and then he don't put a quantity down. Well, you're supposed to figure out how many they're going to need for 5 days. Also, you may need to calculate the day's supply from the information on the prescription, and usually that's for the insurance purposes. So if you look at these pictures here, these are showing you the different ways that you can dispense medications and what form and what type of containers. So the pharmacy technician must correctly select the proper dispensing container. So of course, if you have a liquid, you're going to use these bottles here, which are the amber oval bottles. They're going to be used for liquids. You do need to use the one that's closest to the size that you want. So say if this is a 90-ounce bottle, and you have a prescription written for 80 ounces of medication, okay, you do not want to give them a 240-ounce bottle. Okay, you will want to put that medication in the 90-ounce bottle. Okay, so that's just one way to kind of look at things. So these bottles are going to be marked, of course, usually with both milliliters and ounces, of course, with lines. One thing to remember on the counting tablets, so the tablets, you usually count tablets or capsules with a tray and a metal spatula, and usually they're counted out by fives. Okay, and I know that's another question I've heard people say that's on the test before, on the Virginia State Board test, is what is it? How are you supposed to count? They say you actually should count medications by fives. If you look here, this is just showing you a measuring cup with a liquid. It's showing it to you. It does have it in ounces and in drams as well. Okay, so if we was to work a few problems at the end of the chapter, I just want to kind of help you get started here, so when you get to the chapter test, you will be able to work through them. So on page 67, it says choose, this is number 9, and I'll write it out here. Choose a drug product to fill the following orders. And it actually gives you a multiple choice, but we're not going to put all the multiple choices on here because you have it in your book. So acetic acid, a 1 to 400 irrigation. So we're going to use a ratio proportion because in our choices it shows that it gives you choices in percentages. So that gives us our hint that we have a 3 parts here. We can do a ratio proportion. So remember I told you earlier in the previous chapter that if it doesn't have the units here, it's grams, milliliters. Okay, so you have 1 gram over 400 milliliters. And we know by our choices that we're going to choose from that we're looking for a percentage. So with percentages, remember, always have the 100 underneath it, milliliters. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply. Whatever you multiply the x by always goes on the bottom. So x times 400 is 400x. 100 times 1 is 100. And if you take 100 and divide it by 400, you should come up with 0.25%. So, you know, when you're going to take your state board at pharmacy test and you need to take your or you're taking your national test and you have your calculation, some people get a little worried at first. I always tell people read the question fully, think about it, and then look at your answers, but then work it out. Okay, so that will be helpful to you. But sometimes looking at the choices will give you a hint on how you can set up your formula. So number 17, we'll give you another example of a different one. How much medication should be dispensed for the following prescription? So the prescription is ibuprofen, 400 milligram tablet. And it says number XX. It says take 1 QID, which is 4 times a day, with food. So we're looking for how much medication should be dispensed. So this one, it doesn't tell us for how many days, but it tells us right here, XX is 10 and 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. So you have a quantity of 20. That was an easy one. We'll do one on the next. And well, while we're here, I'm going to do this. Figure up how many days it would be. So if you wanted to find out the day supply, 1 here, you're going to take it 4 times a day. So you have 1 plus 4 is 4 times a day. So we have 20 tablets. So you're going to take 20 divided by 4, and it would last 5 days. Okay, another example, number 19. If you have, this is wanting you to tell them what is the quantity. So we're going to do both. We're going to figure the quantity and the day supply just to kind of give you some practice of both. So prednisone, 5 milligrams is your medicine. And I'm going to write it out first. Okay. And let's see. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what the question 19 wants. They're wanting to know how many quantity do you give them. So if you're taking 4 tablets twice a day, so it'd be 4 times 2 times 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 would be 16 tablets for those 2 days. 3, you just multiply across. 3 times 2, because it's BID is twice a day. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 2 would be 12. So 12 tablets is what you're going to need for those 2 days. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 1 times 2 is 6. 2 times 1 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. So what we've done is we've just multiplied across. You multiply the number of tablets by how many times they're taken a day, and by that times the number of days. So you figure out each row first, and then you go over here and you add those up. So 16 plus 12 plus 8 plus 6 plus 4 plus 2 would equal 48 tablets. So they need a quantity of 48 to fill that for how many days they have. So they have, if you wanted to figure the day supply, it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 for a day, 12-day supply. Okay. And if you have any questions about that, you can send me an email and I can post up some additional practice if you need it. Just let me know. So next we're going to look at some problem set drug labels. Part of the exercises in this chapter is just reading the labels. So we're just going to go through and read the labels. So for this one, what is the brand name? Brand name would be Diovan. Your generic name is located here. Of course, the dosage form. Dosage would be tablets. The strength is going to be 80 milligrams. Total quantity of those tablets are 90. Your storage requirements are going to be room temperature. Okay, store at 25 degrees Celsius. That is room temperature. Your manufacturer is going to be Novartis. Okay, and the NDC number is your 00780358-34. Okay, this one, if you just compare them here, because both of them are Divan. Notice this is Divan, just 80 milligram. This one is Divan HCT. Okay, that is the brand name. If you notice, you can compare the NDC numbers are different. Okay, so here is your generic valsartan and hydrochlorothiazide. It is a combination medication. The strength, of course, is your 160 milligrams per 12.5 milligrams. The quantity is 90 tablets. The dosage is tablets. The storage is going to be at room temperature. Novartis is the manufacturer, and here is your NDC number. Okay, so next we have your trileptal. It is the trileptal is going to be your, oh, sorry. The trileptal is going to be your brand name. Here is your generic name, oxcarbazepine. That's a hard one to pronounce. Your strength is 300 milligrams per 5 milliliters. The quantity is 250 milliliters. So this is a liquid. The dosage is going to be an oral suspension. Manufacturer is Novartis. And this right here just shows you it has to say that it's RX only if it's prescription only. It is to be stored at room temperature. Okay, and then of course your NDC number. The Restoril is your brand name. Temazepam is your generic name. If you notice your brand name starts with a capital R, your generic name starts with a lowercase letter. The dosage form is capsules. The strength is 7.5 milligrams. Here is your manufacturer. Here is your NDC number. And it is to be stored at room temperature at 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. And if you notice here, it is a controlled substance. It has the C4. So prescription directions, it is really important to know your abbreviations. So in the medical field, they use what we refer to in pharmacy as shorthands for many aspects of patient care. Abbreviations or shorthands. So they are derived from Latin or Greek phrases, and it's also some terms are derived from just medical terminology in English as well. Uh, Abbreviations, what they do is they save space on the prescription paper, and they also save time when writing the prescriptions. And they also, a lot of patients do not know what the abbreviations stand for, so it keeps patients from altering the prescription as well. Uh, and then so you need directions for the patients is what the abbreviations are for as well. It is the pharmacy technician's job to interpret those abbreviations for the label. So prescriptions include instructions for proper use of the medication, and they should be fully written out on the label and no abbreviations for the patients once they pick it up. So it contains the dose, route of administration, and the dosing schedule. And of course, a sig is from Latin. It means right, is what the word sig means. The instructions for the proper use of medication included on each prescription, including the dose, route administration, and your dosing schedule. So the dose indicates how much medication the patient will take each administration. And of course, the route is going to be the indication of how the medication is to be given. The dosing schedule, of course, is the indication of how often the drug is to be taken. So now we get to some abbreviations here. So I wanted to kind of go through and give you some hints on them. AC means before meals, but if you think of AM is for morning, before your day starts is morning, so A, okay, before meals. BID, twice a day. Bi means twice. Or like if you think of bicycle, a bicycle has two wheels. So twice a day, and the D stands for day. C stands for with. Yeah, some of them you just have to memorize. Cap for capsule, just taking the first letter of the word. Dispense as written. D for dispense. A for as. W for written. Discontinue. D for dis. And C for continue. Discontinue. G stands for gram. Okay. A lot of times people will mess up gram and grain. Grain has the abbreviation of GR. Okay, and gram is just G. So just remember, that's one you just have to remember. Drop would be GTT. HS, one thing on at bedtime means at bedtime. One thing that I help students to remember HS by is hit the sack. It's like going to bed. So H for hit, S for sack. Hit the sack means HS means at bedtime. Okay, so intramuscular, just abbreviations for IM. Intravenous, IV. IV for there. Liter is L. Micrograms, MCG. MCG. I'm kind of just showing you where they get their abbreviations from sometimes. Some may help you, others may not. If you have any better than mine, please let me know. I'll be glad to share them with the next class. Milli equivalent, MEQ, so you have MEQ. Milliliters, ML, M for milli, L for liters. No known allergies, NKA. No known drug allergies, NKDA. So you can see where they're getting their abbreviations. If you remember, PO means by mouth. So NPO would be nothing by mouth. PC, after meals. Think of PM in the afternoon or evening. I always think of it as afternoon because when you do the PCB after meals. By mouth is PO. PRN, of course, is as needed. Q always stands for every. If it has QH, it's every hour. Q2H means Q for every, 2 for 2, and H for hour, so every 2 hours. QID is 4 times a day. Just think of 4 as in quadruple, and that's where it gets its Q from. I stands for the times, and D stands for daily. QS would be sufficient quantity, S for sufficient, Q for quantity, and if you know if it's written backwards from, the abbreviations are set backwards from this. And stat is immediately. Tab, TIB for tablet. TID, 3 times a day. Think of 3 for try, TTI for times, and D for day. UD as directed, and WK for week. Also, dangerous abbreviations. HS, remember I told you earlier, it said to remember for as bedtime, hit the sack. Sometimes it can mean half strength. So these are abbreviations that are dangerous. And but most of the time, 90% of the time, it's used for bedtime. But there may be a few times where a doctor may write it for half strength. So if you're unsure, you need to double check with a doctor or pharmacist about that. QD, of course, can mean every day, or it can mean every 24 hours. Okay, a lot, in which means 24 hours is in a day. So a lot of doctors, though, here lately, I noticed lately, well, if it's every 24 hours, they'll write that out to keep for any confusion. Every bedtime or nightly at bedtime, QHS. QOD, Q for every, O for other, and D for day. U stands for unit, and then you have your magnesium sulfate and your morphine sulfate. So be aware of those. So some questions here. Why are the abbreviations listed on the previous slide dangerous, and how can they be misinterpreted? They can be they can be interpreted incorrectly because they are similar to other abbreviations, or they may have the same abbreviation as others. But there is a discussion on pages 69 and 70 in the text if you would like to have further explanation of that. Pay special attention, of course, when interpreting abbreviations on prescriptions. Make sure they make sense. If they do not make sense and you can question it, you need to ask the pharmacist or the doctor. So the patients, of course, should not be expected to understand abbreviations. So directions for taking the medication should be written in clear terms. Clear instructions are important, of course, for safe medication use. So the pharmacy tech should make sure that they correctly interpret them before they write them on the medication bottle or label. So instructions to the patient on dispensed medications must be clear and should not include abbreviations. How can the pharmacy technician help to make sure the patients who do not speak English understand medication instructions? And you can ask, when you tell them something, you can ask that patient to repeat what you have just instructed them to say. And our book actually is really good about giving some common Spanish words to help pharmacy techs out. If you click onto that website, you can get to those. If you can't get to them from this recording, let me know and I will forward that to you in an email. But just remember, in this section, you may be asked to interpret some abbreviations. So remember, HS, hit the sack, means at bedtime. Okay, it can have other meanings such as half strength, but 90% of the time it means at bedtime. NKA, remember, no, known, allergies. NPO, in, nothing, PO by mouth. Okay. Q6H, every 6 hours. Okay, so it's kind of giving you, breaking it down for you there. Also, you will need to be able to interpret SIGs or translate the SIGs. So if you had it written, so what this stands for is 2 capsules by mouth 4 times a day as needed for itching. Okay, so you would always want to write that out, and you always want to put a verb there. Take 2 capsules by mouth 4 times a day, or I should write that out, 4 times a day as needed for itching. Okay. Another example, if you had a prescription for nitro, let's say glycerin ointment, and the directions said half IN Q6H. What does that mean? Okay, it is an ointment, so you wouldn't want to take an ointment, you would want to apply. So it is important to make sure that you get that verb correct. So it would be apply, and you would write out 1/2 inch of ointment every 6 hours. So it's important to make sure that your word here is going to go with what type of medication you're giving. So ointment, you would be apply. If it is a capsule or tablet, you would put take. If it is an eye drop, you would put instill. So you actually instill 1 drop in both eyes twice a day or whatever it is. If it is an inhaler, you would put inhale 2 puffs. Okay. Another one would be nitro. I'm going to put nitroglycerin patches. So if it was 1, okay, so this would be interpreted as a patch. You would put apply, and you would put what they are applying. Apply 1 patch QHS every night at bedtime. Okay, and then you would want to put and remove, because this is off, and remove in the morning. And so those are just a couple examples for you. Again, their assignments are to complete the uh, study partner quiz and email those to me. So make sure you send me your study partner. This is just the slide that come in here. Study partner quiz. Also, and I would suggest doing the practice test first, or it's in the back of the chapter, or you can do the practice quiz on the CD as well. And then you need to take the chapter 3 test that's on Blackboard. Okay. Please email me if you have any questions.